Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really interesting and frankly crucial layer beneath all the buzz around AI development tools like Windsurf, Cursor, and Cline.
Yeah, we're looking at security, privacy, and, how the data these things actually learn from might be skewing their output. It's often overlooked.
Totally overlooked. Last time we got into how these AI assistants can seriously speed up development, boost speed, efficiency.
Right. They're powerful tools, no doubt. Great for writing code, debugging, really helpful.
They absolutely are. It's almost like having this super fast extra pair of hands, isn't it? Just churning out code, suggesting fixes like lightning. And it's a big but, that speed, that power. It comes with a catch. It kind of reminds me of that old line about great power demanding great responsibility.
Yeah, good analogy.
In this AI development context, that responsibility really boils down to making sure the code these tools help generate is, well, rock solid secure.
And that our sensitive data stays private.
Exactly. And that the very foundations these AIs learn on aren't leading to, skewed or problematic results.
Precisely. That initial wow factor of getting things done faster, it needs to shift, doesn't it? Towards a more mature understanding of the potential downsides, the trade-offs.
So that's what this deep dive is about. We're going to peel back those layers.
Okay.
We'll kick off by exploring some of the maybe hidden ways these AI tools might actually be introducing security holes into our projects. Then we'll navigate the, let's face it, often murky waters of data privacy rules like GDPR. What do they mean when you're using AI for coding?
Important stuff.
After that, we'll dig into the complexities of the training data itself. How does that influence the code?
The bias issue, yeah.
And finally, we'll wrap up with some practical, actionable steps, things you can actually do to stay secure while using these tools.
Sounds like a critical set of topics.
That's
Let's get straight into those vulnerabilities then.
Agreed. So, think of tools like Windsurf, Cursor, Cline, these AIs. Maybe like incredibly bright, really enthusiastic, but perhaps slightly green junior developers.
That's actually a pretty good way to think about it.
They generate code super fast, but just like a junior team member who's still learning the ropes, they might, accidentally introduce security flaws, holes that could leave your systems wide open.
It is a very apt comparison. And the key thing here isn't just that they might make mistakes, but how those mistakes can be kind of unique to AI.
How so?
Well, these models learn by absorbing just massive amounts of existing code, right, from GitHub, other sources. And while loads of that code is fine, secure even, a pretty significant chunk inevitably contains flaws. Insecure shortcuts, maybe actual vulnerabilities.
Right, because they're essentially just pattern matching machines learning by example, so they can unknowingly pick up and, replicate those not-so-great patterns.
Exactly. Take Cursor, for instance. If its training data included examples, maybe old examples, of developers storing passwords in just plain text.
Oh, wow. A classic no-no.
A huge no-no.
Yeah.
The AI might, in certain scenarios, actually suggest a similar approach when you're asking it about user login stuff. And suddenly, you've got this really basic but critical security flaw baked right into your code.
Yikes. And it's not just code snippets, is it?
No. Definitely not. Think about infrastructure as code. How developers are using code to define cloud setups now.
Right, like Terraform or CloudFormation file.
Yeah, exactly. A tool like Cline might suggest configurations based on its training data. But if that data hasn't been, let's say, rigorously vetted for security best practices,
it could suggest something bad.
It could suggest a setup with, say, unnecessary network ports left open to the public internet, or maybe really weak firewall rule. It's like leaving your digital front door unlocked without even realizing it.
That really highlights a key difference, doesn't it, between an AI assistant and an experienced human developer?
Absolutely.
The AI crunches vast amounts of data, but it often lacks that nuanced understanding of context, the why behind security practices.
It doesn't have the intuition or the scar tissue from past mistakes, perhaps. So it might make suggestions that seem logical on the surface, but are actually vulnerable in a specific situation.
And what's worrying is that we're actually starting to see reports now, aren't we, of AI-generated code being vulnerable to really well-known attacks.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising in a way. Things like SQL injection, where attackers slip malicious commands into database queries.
Classic vulnerability.
Or cross-site scripting, XSS. That allows attackers to inject bad scripts into websites other people view. Even older issues like buffer overflows are cropping up in some AI-generated code.
These are things we thought, or hoped, we were getting better at preventing consistently.
Exactly, foundational security weaknesses.
And the sheer speed of AI code generation, that could actually make things worse, couldn't it?
How do I mean?
Well, if you're a developer under pressure, tight deadline, you might just grab the AI's output and run with it. Less critical scrutiny, maybe.
Oh, I see, yeah. The temptation to just accept it without the same deep dive you'd give code from a human colleague, that's definitely a risk. It's a potential recipe for overlooking serious flaws.
So it really hammers home the point. AI is a powerful aid, but it can't replace that critical human oversight, especially for security.
Couldn't agree more. Human judgment remains absolutely vital.
Okay, so that covers how these tools might introduce vulnerabilities in the code. Let's pivot now to data privacy. This is different, right? It's about the data involved in the process of developing.
Exactly, a whole other dimension. And it's complex, multiple layers here.
Go on.
Well, just by using these tools, typing prompts, pasting code, you're feeding them information, snippets of your code base, maybe data structures, potentially even sensitive data fragments where you're debugging.
Right. And the most immediate worry there, I guess, is data leakage, like accidentally giving the AI something sensitive.
That's definitely top of the list. Imagine you're stuck trying to fix something, and you paste a chunk of code into the AI chat window to ask for help. But oops, embedded in that code is a database connection string. Username, password, the works. Or maybe an API key for a third-party service.
Oh, that's bad.
Very bad. Because that sensitive info could then potentially be stored on the AI provider's servers. And who knows who might access it later.
And it's not always accidental pasting, is it? Some features need our code.
That's the other layer. Many of the really clever features, like smart code completion that predicts what you'll type, or in-depth code analysis, they often require sending your code and maybe related data to the cloud.
To the provider's servers for processing.
Precisely. So your information is being transmitted, stored remotely, and suddenly it's subject to their security measures, their privacy policies, not just yours.
Which immediately rings alarm bells when you think about compliance, regulations like GDPR in Europe.
Huge implications there. If your code touches personal data of EU citizens, even indirectly, using these tools needs to align with GDPR's really strict rules.
Rules about what exactly?
Things like having a lawful basis for processing the data, strong security to protect it, respecting people's rights to access or delete their data. The whole package.
Yeah.
And the fines for getting GDPR wrong, they can be massive.
Yeah, I've heard. And it's not just Europe, right? California has something similar.
Yep. The CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, similar obligations for businesses handling personal info of California residents. Again, big potential fines, plus the reputational damage if you mess up. Losing customer trust is hard to recover from.
So the takeaway here is you absolutely have to read the fine print.
You really do. Dig into the data privacy policies of any AI tool you're thinking of using. Understand exactly how your data is handled, where it's stored, what security they promise. It's not just box ticking, it's fundamental.
Fundamental to responsible development now.
Absolutely. And, for companies with super strict data requirements, finance, healthcare, maybe it's definitely worth checking if the AI tool vendor offers an on-premise version.
So you can run it on your own servers.
Exactly. Keep the data within your own walls. Gives you much more control over security and where everything resides. A good option for some.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered security holes in the code and data privacy during development. Let's tackle the third piece. The training data itself. This feels a bit more subtle.
It is subtle, but yeah, equally important. We're talking about those enormous data sets of code used to teach the AI models.
The stuff they learn from.
Right. And the problem is the composition of those data sets matters. If they aren't truly representative of, the whole diverse world of software development,
then the AI might pick up biases.
Exactly. It can inadvertently pick up and even amplify existing patterns or biases present in that data.
Like what kind of biases?
Well, think about what's easily available. Massive training sets often scrape public repositories like GitHub. So they might naturally have way more code in, say, Python or JavaScript than in COBOL or Haskell.
Just because there's more of it out there publicly?
Precisely. Or the data might reflect the dominant coding styles of the people who've historically contributed most to open source, maybe even the demographics of those contributors.
And how does that imbalance show up in the AI's output?
It can manifest in different ways. For instance, if the training data is mostly code written in a, let's say, very verbose style, The AI might tend to suggest or generate code in that same style, even if a more concise approach is better for your specific project or team standard.
Ah, I see. It just parrots the dominant style it learned.
Kind of. Or imagine the training data is heavily skewed towards one or two big languages. The AI might then struggle to give equally good help or generate equally optimized code for less common languages.
It might even suggest patterns from the dominant language that are actually bad practice in the other one.
That's a real risk, suggesting idioms or patterns that are fine in Java but considered an anti-pattern in Ruby, for example, because it hasn't seen enough good Ruby examples.
So the long-term impact of this, it's not trivial.
Not at all. It could lead to code that's harder for some developers to read or understand, less accessible.
Harder to maintain, too, maybe, if it clashes with community conventions.
Definitely. And potentially even, discriminatory in subtle ways. Imagine an AI only generating code optimized for the latest, fastest hardware, because that's what dominated its training data. What about users on older devices?
That's a really important point. The training data really shapes the world the AI sees, and therefore the code it produces, practical consequences.
Huge practical consequences. Now, to be fair, the companies building these tools are increasingly aware of this. They're working on curating better, more diverse data sets, developing less biased algorithms.
But it's still something we need to watch out for as users.
Absolutely. Developer awareness and monitoring for potential bias in the AI's suggestions is still crucial. Can't just assume the tool is neutral.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground vulnerabilities, privacy, bias, tough stuff. Let's shift now to something really practical. What can you, listening right now, actually do about all this? Let's talk security best practices.
Right. Time to translate these concerns into action. Tangible steps to use these tools more safely.
First up, and honestly, this might be the most important one, code review. It is absolutely critical.
Cannot emphasize this enough.
Don't just accept what Windsurf, Cursor, or Cline spits out. Treat it like code written by that enthusiastic but maybe inexperienced junior developer we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Subjected to rigorous human review. Look specifically for security flaws, subtle bugs, anything weird or unexpected.
Use tools as well, right? Static analysis?
Definitely. Use static analysis, security testing, SATE tools. They can automatically flag potential issues. And if you can, get experienced security pros to look at it too. A second expert pair of eyes.
Building on that, security testing is essential. Just because AI helped write it doesn't mean it's secure.
Nope. You still need comprehensive tests. That means automated vulnerability scanning for sure to catch the common stuff.
And manual testing.
And manual penetration testing. Get ethical hackers, security experts, to try and break it. They often find the subtle, complex things an AI might miss or even introduce.
Good advice. Okay, third point, keep your tools updated. Sounds basic, but
crucial. Just like any software, these AI tools get patches, security fixes, vendors release updates. Keep your AI dev tools current. It's simple hygiene.
Makes sense. And after updates, keep watching things closely. Monitoring.
Yes. Implement robust monitoring for your systems. Watch for any weird activity, anomalies that could signal a breach. Keep an eye on network traffic, system logs, application behavior, real-time awareness.
Okay. What about the team?
Educate them. Make sure everyone on the development team understands the specific risks of using AI tools. Train them on secure coding practices in this context and how to handle data responsibly with these assistants.
Right. And speaking of data, that sanitization point you made earlier seems key.
Absolutely key. Rule number 1, never, ever paste real, sensitive production data directly into these AI tools. Just don't.
Even for debugging.
Not worth the risk. If you need to give the AI sample data for context, make absolutely sure it's been properly sanitized, anonymized. Strip out anything sensitive. Prevent accidental leaks.
Good rule. And you mentioned on-premise solutions earlier.
Yeah, for organizations under strict regulations or with highly sensitive data, seriously consider on-premise options if the vendor offers them. Hosting it yourself gives you much more data control. Big plus for compliance.
Got it.
Last point.
Stay informed. This whole field is moving incredibly fast. AI in development is constantly evolving.
So keep learning.
Keep learning. Stay up to date on the latest threats, new best practices, changes in the tools you use. Follow security news, go to conferences maybe, join online communities, keep your knowledge current.
Excellent. So there you have it, our deep dive into, well, the necessary precautions, security, privacy, and that tricky issue of training data influence when you're using AI in development.
Yeah, tools like Windsurf, Cursor, Cline,
yeah,
they offer amazing potential, don't they? To speed things up, boost productivity.
They really do. But it's just so important to go in with eyes open, approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism and a real awareness of these challenges we've discussed.
By actually doing these best practices, code reviews, testing, sanitization, staying informed, you can harness the benefits more responsibly.
Making sure your code is secure, your data is private, and ultimately keeping your users' trust.
It boils down to thoughtful integration, really. They're powerful assistants, but they need that careful human oversight, that continuous commitment to security.
Couldn't have said it better. Okay, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Now here's something to think about. As AI gets better at writing code, what happens to the role of the human developer? Does overseeing security, privacy, and bias become even more critical? Something to mull over.
Interesting question for the future.
Join us next time when we'll actually be digging into that very topic, how AI might be reshaping software engineering careers. Until then, keep coding.